First contact in the crystal caves. The mapping drone buzzed softly as it traced another section of the crystalline cavern, its blue scanning beam reflecting off the jutting formations in dazzling patterns. Rena Blackwood adjusted her environment suit settings, watching the holographic display materialize another segment of the underground labyrinth. After 3 months of exploring Meridian's cave systems, she thought she'd seen every variation of crystal formation possible. She was wrong. Recording anomaly detection in Sector 7, she spoke into her suit's comm system. The crystalline structures here show signs of deliberate modification. These aren't natural formations. The cave around her sparkled with an inner light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her footsteps. The walls were lined with perfectly hexagonal crystals, each one precisely the same size as its neighbors. Nature didn't work with such precision. A soft chiming sound echoed through the chamber, like wind through glass. Rena froze, her hand instinctively moving to the scanner at her belt. The sound came again, more distinct this time, almost like singing. "Base, are you receiving any unusual audio signatures?" she asked, but only static answered. The crystals around her were probably interfering with communications. She should turn back, report her findings, and return with a proper research team. That would be the sensible thing to do. The chiming grew louder, more urgent. It was coming from deeper within the cave system, beyond her mapped territory. Rena checked her oxygen levels, 4 hours remaining. More than enough time to investigate and return safely. She advanced carefully, marking her path with phosphorescent tags. The tunnel narrowed, the crystals growing denser, their light intensifying. The air itself seemed to shimmer with suspended crystalline dust that sparkled like countless tiny stars. The passage opened into a vast chamber that took her breath away. Massive crystal columns stretched from floor to ceiling, each one alive with swirling colors that danced like aurora borealis. But it was what lay at the chamber's center that made Rena's heart skip a beat. A figure lay curled on a raised crystal dais, its form translucent and faceted like the finest quartz. It appeared humanoid, but its skin was crystalline, refracting light in rainbow patterns. As Rena approached, she saw that parts of the being's crystalline form were cracked, leaking a luminescent fluid that pooled around it. The being's eyes opened, they were like opals, swirling with colors, and fixed on Rena. It spoke, its voice producing that ethereal chiming she'd heard before. Though the language was unlike anything Rena had ever heard, the meaning somehow resonated in her mind. "Please, help." Rena rushed forward, her xenobiologist training kicking in as she assessed the injuries. The being's crystalline body was severely damaged, with fractures running through its torso and left arm. The luminescent fluid appeared to be some kind of life essence, crucial to its survival. "I'm here to help," Rena said softly, hoping her tone would convey what her words couldn't. "I'm Rena. Can you understand me?" The being's opalescent eyes flickered. "I understand. Your language patterns. Easy to crystallize." Its voice was melodic, each word chiming like crystal wind chimes. "I am Lysandra, first resonator of the crystalline harmony." "You're injured," Rena said, scanning Lysandra with her medical analyzer. "What happened to you?" "Hunters, they came. Seeking the heart crystal. I fled, but they damaged my form." Lysandra's light dimmed momentarily. "Cannot reach the healing matrices, too far." Rena's mind raced. Her medical supplies weren't designed for crystalline life forms, but perhaps. She pulled out her emergency repair kit, designed for patching environment suit breaches. The molecular bonding agent might work on Lysandra's crystalline structure. "This might help," she said, showing Lysandra the bonding agent. "It creates molecular bonds. Could it help stabilize your form until we reach these healing matrices?" Lysandra's colors shifted, creating patterns that Rena somehow understood as hope. "Yes. Compatible. Please." Working carefully, Rena applied the bonding agent to the largest fractures. The substance seemed to interact with Lyssandra's crystalline form, creating a temporary seal that stopped the luminescent fluid from leaking. Lyssandra's light strengthened, her colors becoming more vibrant. "Thank you," Lysandra chimed. "But we must move quickly. The hunters, they will return. They always return." "Who are these hunters? Why are they after you?" "They seek what they cannot understand. The heart crystal, it is not mere power source. It is life itself." Lysandra attempted to stand, her form catching the light in mesmerizing patterns. "I must reach the sacred chambers. Will you help me, Rena of the soft forms?" Rena looked at her medical scanner, then at her path markers leading back to the surface. Everything she'd been taught about first contact protocols told her to retreat, report, and wait for a proper diplomatic team. But one look at Lysandra's weakened form made the decision for her. "I'll help you," she said, offering support as Lysandra stood. "But you'll have to guide me through these caves." Lysandra's form pulsed with gratitude. "Follow the resonance. The crystals, they will light our way." As if in response to Lysandra's words, the crystals around them began to glow brighter, creating a path deeper into the cave system. Rena sent one last look toward her exit route, then turned to follow the crystalline princess into the unknown depths of Meridian. The crystals sang around them as they moved deeper into the cave system, their music a complex symphony that seemed to respond to Lysandra's presence. Rena realized she wasn't just walking through a cave, she was entering another world, one where light and sound merged into something entirely new. And somewhere in these depths, hunters waited, seeking a power they didn't understand. This was definitely not how she'd expected her routine survey mission to end. Shadows of the hunt. The deeper they ventured into the crystal maze, the more Rena's equipment struggled to function. Her mapping drone had long since lost connection, and her suit's compass spun wildly, confused by the mineral formations surrounding them. Only Lysandra's gentle radiance lit their way, her crystalline form casting prismatic shadows on the walls. "The resonance grows stronger," Lysandra chimed, her voice carrying an undertone of urgency. "But so do the echoes of the hunters." Rena adjusted her support of the injured crystal being, noting how the temporary repairs were holding but beginning to strain. "Tell me about these hunters. What exactly are we up against?" Lysandra's colors darkened momentarily. "They call themselves the Obsidian Syndicate. They seek to harvest our essence, believing it holds the key to unlimited energy. They do not understand that our power comes from harmony, not exploitation." A distant rumble interrupted their conversation, causing tiny crystal shards to rain down from above. Lysandra's form tensed, her light dimming instinctively. "They approach. We must conceal ourselves." Rena scanned their surroundings, her xenobiologist's training kicking in as she analyzed the crystal formations. "There," she whispered, pointing to a narrow fissure in the wall. "The crystal density might mask our presence." They squeezed into the tight space just as heavy footsteps echoed through the tunnel. Rena held her breath as three figures passed by their hiding spot. They wore sleek black armor that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, their visors glowing with an eerie red light. "Life signs are scrambled," one of them growled, his voice distorted by his helmet. "These crystal formations are interfering with our scanners." "Keep searching," another replied. "The first resonator couldn't have gotten far with those injuries. And now we have a human biosign to track as well." Rena felt Lysandra's form cool beside her, the crystal being's natural luminescence dimming to almost nothing. They waited in tense silence until the hunter's footsteps faded away. "Your people," Rena whispered once it was safe. "How do they defend against these attacks?" Lysandra's colors shifted in what Rena was beginning to recognize as sadness. "We are not warriors. Our strength lies in creation, in harmony with the crystal matrices that form our world. But the hunters, they bring weapons that shatter our forms, disrupt our resonance. They emerged from their hiding place, moving more cautiously now. As they walked, Lysandra began to explain more about her civilization. The crystalline harmony, as they called themselves, had evolved alongside the living crystals of Meridian. They were caretakers, artists, and scientists who could shape crystal through thought and resonance alone. "Watch," Lysandra said, placing her undamaged hand against a wall. The crystals responded to her touch, restructuring themselves to create a small alcove. "We shape, but never break. Guide, but never force. This is our way." "It's beautiful," Rena said, genuinely awed. "But surely you must have some way to protect yourselves?" "The heart crystal," Lysandra replied, her voice taking on a reverent tone. "It is our greatest achievement, and our greatest vulnerability. It amplifies our natural abilities, allows us to maintain the harmony of our entire civilization. But in the wrong hands." Another tremor shook the tunnel, this one stronger than the last. Lysandra stumbled, and Rena caught her, noting with alarm that some of the temporary repairs were beginning to fail. "We're running out of time," Rena said. "How much further to the healing matrices?" "Close," Lysandra chimed weakly. "But we must be careful. The path to healing leads near the heart crystal chamber. The hunters will expect this." Rena's mind raced, drawing on her knowledge of crystal formations and energy patterns. "These tunnels. They conduct energy, don't they? Like fiber optic cables?" Lysandra's colors brightened with interest. "Yes. We use them to transmit resonance throughout our city. Then maybe we can use them to our advantage." Rena pulled out her remaining repair kit and her portable scanner. "If we can create a false energy signature, make them think you're heading in another direction." "A discord in the harmony," Lysandra chimed, understanding dawning in her opalescent eyes. Yes, it could work. But it would require precise timing, and..." She broke off as voices echoed from a side tunnel. The hunters were returning. Rena quickly helped Lysandra into another hiding spot, her mind working furiously on their next move. They were trapped between the hunters and their destination, with Lysandra's injuries worsening by the minute. As they huddled in the shadows, Rena realized that surviving would require more than just evasion. They needed to understand why these hunters were so desperate for the heart crystal's power, and what that power truly meant. The answers, she suspected, lay in the sacred chambers ahead, if they could reach them alive. The crystals around them hummed with tension, their song a complex melody of warning and promise. Somewhere in the depths of Meridian, a power waited that could either save or destroy an entire civilization. And Rena, a human scientist who had only wanted to study cave formations, now found herself at the center of a conflict she barely understood. But looking at Lysandra's weakened form, she knew she couldn't walk away. Sometimes, she realized, the most important discoveries weren't the ones you could record in a research log. They were the moments when you chose to stand beside those who needed you, even if it meant facing dangers you never expected to encounter. The heart of Meridian. The healing matrices turned out to be nothing like Rena had imagined. As they entered the vast chamber, her scientific mind struggled to process what she was seeing. Massive crystal pillars pulsed with living light, their surfaces rippling like liquid glass. Between them, smaller crystals floated in complex geometric patterns, spinning slowly in an invisible current of energy. "The resonance nexus," Lysandra explained, her voice stronger in proximity to the healing energies. "Here, our forms can be renewed through harmonic alignment." Rena helped Lysandra to the center of the chamber, where the floating crystals began to respond to her presence. They clustered around the injured crystal being, their light intensifying as they worked to repair her damaged form. The temporary patches Rena had applied dissolved as new crystal growth replaced them. "Remarkable," Rena breathed, her scanner recording readings that defied conventional physics. "The crystal structures are actually regenerating at a molecular level." But their moment of relief was short-lived. A deep tremor shook the chamber, different from the hunter's explosions. This came from somewhere far below, and it carried a note of wrongness that made the floating crystals shudder. Lyssandra's newly healed form dimmed with concern. The heart crystal, it grows unstable. The hunter's attempts to access its power are disrupting the harmonic balance. What exactly is the heart crystal? Rena asked, helping Lysandra stand. You said it's more than just a power source. It is the first crystal, the seed from which all of Meridian grew. Lysandra moved to one of the chamber walls, placing her hand against it. The crystal surface rippled, revealing images of an ancient past. Our ancestors discovered it millennia ago, learned to harmonize with its resonance. Through it, we shaped this world, created our civilization. The images shifted, showing a vast underground city built entirely of living crystal. Rena saw crystalline beings like Lysandra moving through graceful structures that seemed to defy gravity, their forms merging with and separating from the crystal architecture as naturally as breathing. But the heart crystal is more than that, Lysandra continued, her voice taking on an edge of urgency. It is conscious, in its way. It responds to intention, to harmony. The hunters believe they can simply take its power, but they're discord. She broke off as another tremor shook the chamber. They'll destroy everything if they continue, Rena realized. The entire crystal ecosystem could collapse. Worse. Lysandra's colors darkened. The heart crystal's power, if released chaotically, could trigger a chain reaction through all the crystal formations on Meridian. The planet itself could shatter. Before Rena could respond, a new sound echoed through the chamber, footsteps, approaching rapidly. The hunters had found them. Quick, Lysandra said, pulling Rena toward a crystalline arch, there's another way to the heart crystal chamber. We must reach it before they do. They passed through the arch into a network of tunnels that glowed with their own inner light. As they ran, Rena noticed something strange about the crystal formations here. They were older, more primal somehow, their patterns growing increasingly complex. These tunnels, she panted as they ran, they're not just passages, are they? No, Lysandra confirmed. They are the neural pathways of Meridian itself. The closer we get to the heart crystal, the more direct its influence becomes. Be careful, your thoughts here have power. As if in response to her warning, the crystals around them pulsed with increased intensity. Rena felt a strange sensation, as if the very air was becoming thick with potential energy. Her thoughts seemed to create ripples in the crystalline walls, brief distortions that faded as quickly as they appeared. They emerged onto a ledge overlooking a massive cavern that took Rena's breath away. The heart crystal chamber was a perfect sphere, its walls covered in intricate crystal formations that spiraled inward toward the center. There, suspended in mid-air, was a crystal unlike any other, a geometrically perfect shape that seemed to contain galaxies within its facets. But the chamber wasn't empty. The Obsidian Syndicate had arrived first. A group of hunters surrounded the heart crystal, their black armor a stark contrast to the luminescent chamber. They had set up some kind of device, a dark crystalline structure that hummed with discordant energy. No, Lysandra whispered, her form trembling. They're attempting to force a resonance link. The discord will. Another tremor rocked the chamber, stronger than any before. Cracks appeared in the walls as the heart crystal's light flickered erratically. Can we stop them? Rena asked, her mind already racing through possibilities. Not alone. Lysandra's voice carried a new determination. But perhaps, together. Your different perspective, your understanding of both harmony and discord, it might be exactly what we need. Rena looked at the crystal being who had become so much more than a scientific subject. What do you need me to do? Something unprecedented, Lysandra replied, her colors shifting with nervous energy. A joining of resonances. No human has ever attempted to harmonize with the heart crystal before, but your presence here, your actions, they suggest you might be capable. Below them, the hunter's device pulsed with increasing power. Time was running out. "I'll do it," Rena said without hesitation. "Tell me how." The fate of Meridian hung in the balance as human and crystal being prepared to attempt something that had never been done before. The heart crystal's light pulsed between them, a beacon of both hope and warning in the depths of the living planet. Breaking the crystal crown. The resonance link must be perfect, Lysandra explained as they crept along the crystalline ledge. Any discord could shatter not just the heart crystal, but the entire harmonic matrix of Meridian. Rena studied the hunters below, noting how their dark device pulsed with an increasingly unstable energy. "How do we even get close enough? They've got the chamber surrounded." A new voice answered, causing both of them to spin around. "Perhaps I could help with that." From the shadows emerged another crystalline being, their form more angular than Lysandra's, shot through with veins of dark mineral. Lysandra's light dimmed in recognition. "Obsidian shade," she chimed softly. "Second resonator of the harmony. But you disappeared months ago, when the hunters first came." "I did not disappear, first resonator. I evolved." Obsidian Shade's voice carried harmonics that made Rena's teeth ache. "I learned that true power comes not from maintaining harmony, but from controlling it." Understanding dawned on Lysandra's face. "You brought them here. You taught them how to disrupt our resonance." "I showed them the potential they could unlock." Obsidian Shade moved closer, their form casting strange shadows. "Our people have grown stagnant, Lysandra. We shape crystals and sing songs while the rest of the galaxy advances. The Obsidian Syndicate offers us a chance to become something greater." Another tremor shook the chamber. Below, the hunter's device began to emit a high-pitched whine that set Rena's nerves on edge. The heart crystal's light flickered erratically, its perfect geometry beginning to distort. "You're destroying everything," Lysandra protested. "The heart crystal cannot be controlled, only harmonized with. Its power comes from balance, from the relationship between all things. A relationship that could be so much more." Obsidian Shade turned to Rena. "Surely you understand, scientist. Think of what we could learn, what we could achieve by actively directing this power rather than merely channeling it." Rena looked between the two crystal beings, her mind racing. Years of scientific training had taught her to seek knowledge, to push boundaries. But it had also taught her to respect the systems she studied, to understand that observation and interaction were not the same as control. "I understand wanting to advance," she said carefully. "But forcing change without understanding the consequences, that's not science. It's hubris." Obsidian Shade's form darkened. "Then you are as limited as they are." "No matter. The process has already begun." Below them, the heart crystal's light suddenly pulsed blindingly bright. The hunters scattered as their device began to overload, dark energy crackling between it and the ancient crystal. "The resonance is cascading," Lysandra cried. "If it continues, then Meridian begins its true evolution," Obsidian Shade declared. "From the destruction, a new order will emerge." Rena's scanner was going haywire, its readings off the scale. But among the chaos, she noticed something, a pattern in the crystal's pulses, a rhythm that seemed familiar. "Lysandra," she said urgently. "The heart crystal, it's trying to maintain harmony even now, isn't it? Like an immune system fighting off an infection?" Lysandra's colors shifted in revelation. "Yes. Yes. But it needs a focus, a point of resonance to stabilize around." "Which is exactly why this will work," Obsidian Shade interrupted. "The crystal seeks harmony? We will give it a new harmony, one we control." Another tremor rocked the chamber, larger than before. Cracks began to appear in the walls, spreading like lightning through the ancient crystal formations. The hunters below were retreating, their experiment clearly having gone beyond their control. Rena made a decision. Lysandra, you said we might be able to harmonize together. Could we create a resonance strong enough to counter this? It's never been done, Lysandra replied. A human consciousness joining with the crystal matrix, the risk is better than certain destruction. Rena held out her hand. I trust you. Lysandra's form brightened as she took Rena's hand. The contact sent a shock through Rena's system, like touching an electric fence but somehow beautiful. She felt her consciousness expanding, connecting with Lysandra's in ways she couldn't have imagined. No. Obsidian shade moved to stop them, but they were already beginning to glow with a combined light that forced them back. Through their connection, Rena began to understand the true nature of the heart crystal's power. It wasn't just energy to be harnessed, it was a living network, a symphony of interconnected resonances that maintained the delicate balance of an entire world. And now, incredibly, she was becoming part of that symphony. Focus, Lysandra's voice chimed in her mind. Feel the harmony. Your scientific understanding, combined with our resonance. Below them, the heart crystal's erratic pulses began to synchronize with their combined frequency. The crackling dark energy from the hunter's device started to fade as a new pattern emerged, not the rigid control Obsidian Shade had sought, but a dynamic balance between order and chaos, structure and change. Obsidian Shade watched in disbelief as their carefully laid plans began to unravel. You don't understand what you're giving up. But Rena and Lysandra were beyond hearing, their merged consciousness reaching deeper into Meridian's crystal matrix. Through their connection, they could feel the planet's heart beating, its crystalline networks adapting and healing. The real question was, could they maintain this harmony long enough to save Meridian? And what would this unprecedented merger of human and crystal consciousness mean for both their species? Light through the fragments. The heart crystal chamber had become a battlefield of light and resonance. Rena and Lysandra's emerged consciousness pulsed in harmony with the ancient crystal, their combined energy creating patterns of impossible beauty across the chamber walls. But Obsidian Shade wasn't finished yet. If you won't embrace evolution, they declared, then you'll be part of the destruction that leads to it. Their form began to change, absorbing the dark energy from the hunter's device, growing larger and more jagged. Through their shared consciousness, Rena felt Lysandra's shock. The discord, they've completely corrupted their own resonance. The transformed Obsidian Shade launched crystalline shards at them, each one humming with destructive energy. Rena and Lysandra moved as one, their combined light creating shields of pure resonance that deflected the attacks. Your harmony is a chain, Obsidian Shade's voice boomed, distorted by dark energy. I offer freedom through power. But Rena was beginning to understand something crucial. Through her connection with Lysandra and the heart crystal, she could see the deeper patterns, the fundamental mathematics of Meridian's crystal matrix. It wasn't just about power, it was about relationship, about the delicate balance between structure and adaptation. Lysandra, she communicated through their link, the heart crystal, it's not just maintaining harmony, is it? It's constantly evolving, finding new patterns of balance. Yes, Lysandra's consciousness resonated with revelation. Change within harmony, growth within balance. This is what Obsidian Shade never understood. Below them, the heart crystal's light steadied, its pulses aligning with their realization. The hunters, witnessing the battle of energies above them, began to retreat, finally understanding that they had stumbled into forces far beyond their control. Obsidian Shade launched another attack, their corrupted resonance threatening to shatter the chamber's crystalline walls. But this time, Rena and Lysandra didn't just defend, they responded with a new kind of harmony, one that incorporated Rena's scientific understanding with the crystal being's natural resonance. The effect was immediate and stunning. Waves of ordered light spread through the chamber, not fighting Obsidian Shade's discord but transforming it, integrating it into a larger pattern. The dark energy began to dissipate, revealing the wounded crystal being beneath. No, Obsidian Shade cried, their form beginning to crack. The power. I had finally grasped it. Not power, Lysandra chimed gently. Understanding. Connection. Growth within balance. As their combined resonance reached its peak, the heart crystal pulsed with renewed vigor. The chamber filled with light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, a harmony so perfect it brought tears to Rena's eyes even through their merged consciousness. Obsidian Shade's corrupted form began to dissolve, the dark energy dispersing as their original crystalline structure reasserted itself. They collapsed, their light dim but no longer discordant. The hunter's device, now completely drained of energy, crumbled into inert fragments. The tremors stilled, and for the first time since entering the deep caves, Rena felt Meridian settle into true balance. Slowly, carefully, she and Lysandra separated their consciousness. The experience of returning to her own mind was like awakening from the most vivid dream, except she knew every moment had been real. What happens now? Rena asked, her voice hoarse from the intensity of their joining. Lysandra's form shimmered with renewed strength. Now we rebuild, but differently. Your perspective has shown us that harmony doesn't mean stagnation. We can grow, advance, without losing our connection to Meridian's heart. They looked down at Obsidian Shade's unconscious form. Even discord has its place in the greater harmony, Lysandra continued. We will heal them, help them understand the true nature of evolution. The heart crystal pulsed softly, its light now stable but somehow different, more complex, incorporating new patterns that hadn't existed before. Rena's scanner, remarkably still functioning, showed readings that would keep scientists busy for decades. Your people, Lysandra said, turning to Rena. They will come now, seeking to understand what happened here. They will, Rena agreed. But thanks to what we experienced together, I can help them understand that some knowledge can't be taken, it has to be shared, grown together. As if in response to her words, the crystal formations around them began to sing, their resonance carrying through all the tunnels and chambers of Meridian. It was a new song, one that spoke of harmony between species, of growth through understanding rather than control. Days later, as Rena prepared to return to the surface to meet the research teams that would inevitably come, she stood with Lysandra in the healing matrices chamber. The crystal being's form glowed with renewed purpose. This isn't an ending, Lysandra chimed softly. The hunters are gone, but what we discovered together, it's just the beginning. Rena smiled, touching the small crystal fragment Lysandra had given her, a piece of Meridian that would always resonate with their shared experience. A new harmony, she agreed. The crystals sang around them, their light containing all the colors of possibility. In the depths of Meridian, two different species had discovered that the greatest evolution comes not from power or control, but from the willingness to grow together, to find new patterns in the endless dance of change and stability. And somewhere in the heart of the planet, an ancient crystal pulsed with a light that held both memory and promise, the first notes of a symphony that would continue to evolve, one resonance at a time.